On today's video, we're going to be talking about a very iconic fragrance. This fragrance has been around since 1921 when it was released for the House of Chanel, as you have seen from the title. Today we are talking about number 5. And before we get started, make sure to give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more fragrance related content, as it does help the channel grow. Thank you so much for everyone who has subscribed. I truly appreciate everyone that comments and gives the video a thumbs up. I really love you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. So I have here all three number 5 versions that have been released throughout the years. So the first one we have here is obviously the original, the OG, launched in 1921. Ernest Bou was the perfumer to the stars and was the first one to create the fragrance for the House of Chanel. So just a little backstory on this fragrance here. It was created, like I said, in 1921. At the time that it was created, it was seen kind of like designer brands at the time, or couturier houses or labels like Chanel, Dior. It was very much frowned upon for couturiers to make their own fragrance, as it was seen something like celebrity fragrances are now. How celebrity fragrances kind of have a bad connotation, that's kind of how it was for designer brands back then. So for Chanel to really go forward and create this with Ernest Bou, it was a revolutionary step. Another revolutionary step about this fragrance is that it has aldehydes, which is the first synthetic component that, really emphasize other scents in the perfume itself. That's what kind of gives us a baby powder-ish type of smell here. It was the first fragrance to actually have it in it, and at the time it was extremely expensive. In today's modern world, that's not the case anymore. It is no longer that expensive to create aldehydes. But back in 1921, with it being a new technology, it was extremely expensive. Also, another nice thing about number 5 is that it had over 250 different ingredients in it. They have whittled it down. It has become less and less notes in this fragrance. As you will see, it has a lot less notes now, but when it was originally launched, it had over 250, making it a very expensive perfume to manufacture. And the bottle itself, it is very much lab-like. That's because she wanted something simplistic that looked like it had just come out of the lab. Number 5 is picked because it was her lucky number, and it was supposed to be the 5th sample that was selected for her perfume launch. So that's all the backstory that I have for this fragrance, but let's see at the packaging. It is absolutely gorgeous. This packaging has been around forever. They have recreated it. They have come out with different editions. For example, there was a red edition that they came out with a red bottle. This is the classic version here. You do get your golden neck here. You get the liquid that also kind of matches that. You do get the nice Chanel logo here, as well as the information. This is the Eau de Parfum. They do make a Parfum version. They also make an Eau de Toilette version of the original number 5, as well as some body products. As time has progressed, Chanel number 5 has kind of lost that, allure or that popularity that it once had. But there are body products. I'm not sure which ones are still around and which ones have been discontinued, because they constantly kind of like rotate them out. So the top lid is kind of made kind of like of a resiny type of material. It's not necessarily plastic. It's not acrylic either, but it does have that nice diamond cut shape. It's supposed to reminisce the Place Vendôme, because Chanel did live at the Ritz-Carlton most of her adult life. So you do get the sprayer here. They have updated the sprayer. This is the old classic number 5 sprayer. Now this fragrance itself, we're going to kind of go through each one of them and see which one is the best pick, which one you should get, which one you shouldn't get. To me, all of them are very different in very different formats. Each one of these has its own environment that you can wear it in. So with that being said, we're going to go through what each one represents kind of for me, and then we'll see which one you should get for yourself. Like I said, starting off with the classic number 5, this is the Eau de Parfum version. If you have ever smelled the Parfum version, it is incredibly well done, because it has a lot of May Rose in it, and that fragrance itself is a masterpiece. I do love the Parfum versions of the Chanel fragrances, because they are the truest sense and the truest format to the original fragrances that were launched. This fragrance was launched in 1921. If we look at the actual notes, top notes are going to be aldehyde, bergamot, lemon, and neroli. So, that's a little bit whittled down, like I said, from the original one. We do have in the middle notes grass, jasmine, iris, lily of the valley, and May Rose. And as base notes, we're going to get sandalwood, vanilla, and amber. as well as vetiver. So this fragrance to me is absolutely gorgeous. It is a classic scent. Because it's been around for such a long time, we typically tend to think this is grandma's perfume, this is mom's perfume, this is great grandma's perfume at this point. And it does have that old lady connotation because it has that baby powder type of smell. Now, the thing about Chanel No. 5 versus a lot of the older fragrances out on the market is that it was ahead of its time. It was a clean, timeless, classic type of fragrance. It had the blueprint for it to be a superstar fragrance because it is a fragrance that is easy to wear. It's able to be worn to high-end events. You can also wear it to a nice pool party. It does come alive more on the skin. It becomes a lot more warmer of a scent. But because it has that strong aldehyde base to it, that baby powder type of smell, with the strong May rose and jasmine type of notes in it, with that iris touch, it can come off as being a little too much. It can become something that is a little bit too overwhelming, unfortunately. And because of that, I do see that a lot of people that are younger, around my age, or maybe even younger, will probably not gravitate towards No. 5. I do see people gravitate towards No. 5 just because of the actual historical meaning of this fragrance. And because it is such an icon, some people will wear it. But just so you do know, this is the #1 best-selling fragrance of all time. So the next one we have here is Chanel No. 5 Eau de Première. This fragrance was launched in 2008. It was the first recreation of No. 5. I think that they were trying to come up with a more modern version of No. 5. And quite frankly, they kind of made this fragrance a little pissy, if you ask me. What I mean by that is No. 5 can kind of come off a little bit bitter already as it is because of those aldehydic type notes. So in certain type of climates or skin tones or skin reactions with a perfume, it can kind of come off a little bitter and a little bit harder to wear. And they really emphasize that in Eau de Premiere. So this is what the bottle looks like, very much the same thing, except we're getting a silver neck here. You do get the CCs for Chanel there. You do get the information there. You also get the same lid, also made out of the same type of resiny material. Now, the nice thing about this fragrance to me is that it really kind of grabs a little bit of Coco Mademoiselle's little like citrusy type of ylang notes and adds it into here. But with that being said, with everything that's in this fragrance already, this fragrance can kind of come off pissy, a little bit bitter, a little too top heavy. This fragrance is kind of, it's kind of in the middle. We have Low, which is going to be a newer version that we're going to talk about here in a second. We have the classic No. 5. This one is kind of like in between. It doesn't know what it wants to be. It doesn't know if it wants to be classic. It doesn't know if it wants to be modern. So it's kind of in that in between limbo scenario where it's just kind of like, do you really need it? Do you really want it? I mean, it has a cool name, Eau de Premiere, but other than that, what else is it trying to offer you? And that's the sad thing about this fragrance. So definitely not the one that I would get. I would certainly not recommend to get this one because if you are looking, like I said, for No. 5, either get the classic or the low version because they're going to be a little bit better at what they're trying to convey. So this fragrance is a little bit special to my heart. This is what the bottle looks like. It is, like I said, the same classic silhouette that we see in No. 5. Those beautiful like chamfered type edges, that Place Vendôme lid at the very top that's cut like a diamond. So this fragrance is a little bit more special to me because I used to work for Chanel when we first launched this fragrance. And I remember going to Chanel training about what was coming out, how to describe the fragrance to clients, and really emphasizing on the slogan of this fragrance, which was "You know me and you don't," because we all know No. 5, but this one is a little bit different to the point where you may not recognize it. Out of all of the No. 5 fragrances and out of all the Chanel mainstream fragrances, this one is the one that smells the most expensive to me because it smells very much similar like something that would be in the Les Exclusives collection, which is Chanel's private line. This one kind of smells like a little bit like their cologne in the Les Exclusives or beige. It has very clean notes to it, but it continues to have that Chanel heart, which are the aldehydic notes in here. It is very plainly done, but done in a very classic way. And I really do love this fragrance. It's probably the most universal out of all three of the No. 5 fragrances. Quite frankly, if you are a male and you like No. 5, but you're like, I don't know if I can pull it off because it's a little too feminine, This one for sure is one that does not have any gender. It really can be worn by both. And in some cases, I've seen it smell more like a male fragrance than a female fragrance. The top notes for this are going to be lemon, aldehydes, and mandarin orange. The middle notes for this are going to be ylang ylang rose, jasmine. This fragrance, like I said, has a lot of the classic notes of the original fragrances in here, but it does it so well that orange as well as the mandarin orange and the bergamot are true sparkly type of notes in this fragrance, which Chanel is probably the only brand that does that very well. They have a way to really create these fragrances that have these citric notes, but they make them sparkly, kind of like a bubbly champagne type of vibe to them. Really, really well done. I really love this fragrance. Then in the base, we're going to get musk, vetiver, and cedarwood. So that cedarwood is very much in all of these fragrances. Some of them have more sandalwood than cedarwood, but this one's done incredibly well. I cannot tell you exactly how expensive this fragrance comes out because it has a very soft rose in it. It has an incredibly beautiful musk in here with the ylang ylang, and then it captures the aldehydes in it as well. This fragrance, like I said, is the most premium smelling to me because it kind of smells like a Les Exclusifs fragrance, but it still has that No.5 DNA in it. It's done incredibly well. It's very much thought out. It's very much a fragrance that took a lot of time, effort, and a lot of talent, because Olivier Polge, being Jacques Pol's son, he created a lot of iconic fragrances such as Coco Mademoiselle, Coco Noir. We had all of those beautiful fragrances to work with, and Jacques Polge's son, Olivier Polge, the perfumer for this fragrance, really just, blew it out of the water with this one. He hasn't done it in other fragrances like Gabrielle. I don't really care for that fragrance. He also didn't do a very good job with Chanel Chance Eau Vive, if you ask me. But this fragrance itself is probably the best one out of the three. So what do we think of these guys? Which one do you have? Which one do you want? Let me know all of that down below in the comments. My favorite is L'Eau, as you can tell. I would definitely recommend for anyone to try this one because it's going to be the most up-to-date, the most modern, but it's also going to be a fragrance that has the most premium smell to it at the moment. That can change with time. Obviously, No.5 was very much a premium fragrance when it came out. Eau de Première must have been the same when it was launched in 2008. But with that being said, this one at the moment is the one that smells the most premium, the most sophisticated, and the most expensive. And just so you do know, this is an eau de toilette, but it does have some pretty good longevity performance in sillage. And I would say to try this fragrance out. It is incredibly well done. And if you were looking for another fragrance and you don't like L'Eau, then definitely try the classic and skip out on Eau de Première because this fragrance, like I said, doesn't know what it wants to be. It doesn't know if it wants to be a new version of No.5 or if it wants to be a classic. And I would certainly say to either stick with the classic or the new one. That's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of your comments, all of your thumbs up, all of the subscribes. It really means the world to me. Make sure to comment down below your thoughts on today's video and also consider subscribing for more fragrance related content. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.